Hello, brothers and sisters, and welcome to another Sabbath Sesh. This would be Season 2, Episode 10, even though I've got the wrong ticker up there. Thanks for coming, and I will start us all out here with a prayer. Dear Almighty Living God, thank you for the blessings you give us. Thank you that we get to come together and discuss your word and the going on that you blessed us with. May those who come by and check out our Sesh be encouraged to follow after you and to hear more of your word and help us be following on the path that you guide us. Amen.
Amen.
How's it going?
Good. I was trying to put on some background stuff here to look at rather than me as usual, but I think the plant might be in the way.
It's kind of got an odd kind of fogginess to it nowadays.
Well, my camera, I dropped this phone so many times, it's cracked all over the place, and so it does not have a clear picture. When I'm outside, it looks like it's heat waves.
Right.
Like if you look outside and it has that wobble effect, it looks like, oh, it must be hot.
Farther distance, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the farther distance it's clear. It's the shorter up stuff. It's still wobbling. Can you see the wobbles in there?
Yeah. Yep. Quite a bit.
Yep. That means I need to fix my camera. But I'm not doing it till I go back to Mexico.
Right.
It's much cheaper to do in Mexico.
I bet it is.
Yeah.
We try to nickel and dime everybody up here in America. It's crazy.
Yep. That's true.
One of the biggest ones I see with electronics is that we have always like the overages with data, and we measure data and stuff like crazy.
They do all around the world, I think.
Do they?
They do in Mexico too. Well, I can't say all around the world. I can say in Mexico because I spend so much time there.
I wonder. I heard Asia does it pretty loosely. Let you have all you need. You just pay for your service and you get
it. Egypt does.
Like Asia.
Oh, Asia.
Yeah, like China, I think.
Right. Well, in China, it's illegal to leave your phone it's illegal to leave your house without your phone. I guess it's illegal to leave your phone behind.
What happens if your phone dies? That's no good.
If your phone, yeah, it's definitely used as a surveillance device there, and they know it's a tracking and tracing device as well, because they can see who you've come in contact with, where you've gone, what you've done. It's a pretty interesting formula for managing people.
It's getting to be that way over here. Everybody's starting to freak out because a lot of the flock cams are starting to add that Bluetooth sensory, and they can tell what phones come by and what devices come by and track that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting on how that goes, because I know actually Israel's got tracking on that. If you've got the money with Pegasus 2, you can track any device you want to, but the subscription's like $1 million a month, I hear.
No way. So it's for law enforcement only.
Yeah, pretty much, or rich people.
Okay, I put a program on just with the volume completely off in the background, and I saw that it was 5150 Productions, which means, you know what 5150 is?
I don't.
It's a police call sign for a crazy person. And then it was by a guy named Saban, who did the Power Rangers, who's an Israeli billionaire.
Oh, yes.
So I thought, oh, that was interesting. A crazy Israeli billionaire making movies.
He did pretty good at that one. Everybody loves Power Rangers.
Oh, I don't know if that's where he made all of his money or if he went from there to doing other stuff, but um, entertainment industry can net a lot of profits because it doesn't cost that much to make copies of your film, and then once you distribute it, you can distribute it to so many different people, whether through the internet or the movie networks.
That makes a lot of sense, especially
Yeah.
nowadays.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because it makes me go right back to the Bible. I'm still in Samuel. My son Sammy and I are reading it really slowly. Okay. Now the director of this film is John Connor. Tell me that isn't funny too. Do you know who John Connor is?
I don't know anyone except for the one in Terminator.
Exactly. I don't know any John Connors too, except for the one in Terminator. So that's why I thought that was funny.
That is fun.
And I'm sure that helped him get that gig. I don't even know what this movie's about. I just picked something. Um, but I like to read the titles. So I spaced. We said what was something. God, look at how that looks like Gaza right there. That looks horrible.
I know you were saying that you were going through something in Samuel you guys were reading.
Oh yeah. I'm going through the struggle between King David and King Saul. So um, King Saul doesn't do what God says. So God says he's going to take the kingdom away from him. And then he anoints Jesse's son, who's the great grandson of Boaz and Ruth from the book of Ruth, and
Yeah,
the great great grandson of Rahab, the prostitute, from when they had come into Jericho. So, and he's the youngest of 8 boys. So we're imagining his dad is real old and that um, that a lot of time has gone by because we've been in the time of judges. So the people like Samson have already been around, and now uh, Hannah prays for Samuel. Samuel's born, and Samuel becomes the prophet of Israel or the high priest and prophet of Israel. And when they want a king, he feels rejected, and God says, well, it's not me, it's not you they're rejecting, it's me they're rejecting, my leadership, so stop being a grouch about it. uh, and so then we see him go and anoint King Saul. Saul leads the people, and he told them ahead of time what was going to happen. He's going to take your best sons, your land, blah, blah, blah. He's going to conquer, and he's going to take the best for himself and tax you, and you'll be unhappy. And then David comes. His brothers are fighting. He beats Goliath. And I don't remember if he was anointed before he gets Goliath or if it's afterwards. Samuel anoints him as the future king of Israel. And then he just has this awesome, awesome career, becomes best friends with King Saul's son. And now, here at the end, King Saul becomes so jealous of him that he wants to kill him. And so he's doing everything to take away everything from him and to kill him. And he ends up with men following him, 400 of them, and then 600 of them. And he grows stronger, and he has 2 opportunities to kill King Saul. One time when he goes in to take a leak in a cave, and his eyes aren't adjusted, so he just runs in there by himself, no bodyguard or anything. And he comes up behind him with the knife, and instead of killing him, which his men wanted him to do, he only cuts off a piece of his coat.
sure.
And have you know this story?
I remember it at one point, but I forget what it's called.
Right. That's what happens is like the Bible's so big and there's so many stories you forget. And then you
No,
get these little details again and you're like, dang, that's so cool. And so he goes up, and I remembered that one. So I kind of always remembered when he was chasing him that he had cut his coat off. And he says to him, he goes, hey, he waits till he gets a distant off. He goes, you better fire Abner. He should have never let you go in the cave alone. He's let you down. Your guy sucks. I could have killed you. Look down at your coat. Here's a piece of your coat. And he's like, oh, yep, you're a better man than me. If I had had that chance, I would have killed you, David. And he says, well, I'm not going to lay a hand on God's anointed. I'm not going to bring that curse upon me or the nation, da 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 da. So you can go home in peace and know that I'm not here. I'll never harm you. I'll never lay a finger on you. And he says, all right, you're better than me. I'm going home. So he goes back home. So then the king goes and fights some more Philistines. And then he decides, all right, it's time to kill David again. So he goes after David like he's going hunting quail. He brings him and his men, and they go on a hunting party. And they go to, I don't know if we should say KILL on YouTube anymore. That's probably why we have no views. I should, because I hear all the other content creators, they say unalive. They're going to unalive King David, King Saul is. I mean, even though we're talking about something that happened 3,000 years ago or more, I just don't want the YouTube censors to be prejudiced against us.
Apparently that word triggers people for some reason. I don't know.
I
It happens, unfortunately, but why, I don't understand why people would be triggered by.
Right. Well, I better not
Take it out.
load it up because the Bible's full on triggering moments. So in the second part, when he goes out and hunts him like he's going dove hunting, he says, oh no, not that he says anything. He camps near David. So David sees where he's camping. So instead of David running or attacking his encampment, he sneaks into the encampment at night. He grabs his spear, which is planted in the ground right next to his head, and he gets the water jug that is the king's water jug. And now he waits until they wake up, and then they follow him, and he says, hey, here's your spear. Send one man up to get it. Here's your water jug. I mean you no harm. Stop chasing me around. And then finally he says, David, God clearly has anointed you for a certain thing. I will no longer come after you. Blah, blah, blah. So I don't know if he does it a third time or not, because that's where we stopped reading last night at the second time. But it was so interesting to me that he's like, all right, here's twice now he's done it. Now he's got King Saul prophesying against David. Oh, and that was another thing. David went to the place of the prophets and he started prophesying with Samuel. And then King Saul sent some guys to go get him, two guys. And when they got there, they started prophesying. And he's like, what the heck? And he does it like three more times, groups of soldiers. As soon as they get there, they just start prophesying and speaking the word of God. And then finally, King Saul himself says, what the heck is going on? So he comes himself and he ends up getting half naked down to his, inner garments and doing, oh, and there was another thing. Unless I wash your feet, there was the servant. Someone acted as a servant in the book of Samuel, and they were washing the feet. And I'm like, oh, this is just like Jesus, that he had to do that so he would be part of their deal. All right, so look up washing feet in the book of Samuel.
That's what I was looking at.
Okay.
Was it David's feet that they were washing? Because David's
No. David was washing somebody's feet. Somebody was washing somebody's feet. But all I remember was the feet washing was supposed to be just like it not I don't know what it was supposed to be, but it just reminded me of um, when Christ washed everyone's feet at the Last Supper, and he
That's
said, "You'll have no part of the kingdom unless."
25:41.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let's see. 25, 40, 41 is about Abigail doing it. It looks like this same First Samuel 25:40. And David's servants came to Abigail at Carmel and spoke to her, saying, David has sent us to take you to him for a wife. And she rose up and bowed her face and said, Behold, your handmaiden be a servant, and wash the feet of the servants of my master.
Oh, exactly. So I forgot about that one too, Abigail. So this guy Nabel, uh, all of a sudden David and his army is hanging out with his guys, and they're hungry, but they don't take one of his sheep, and they look after his shears, and they take care of all of his people, and they earn like a good salary and demand nothing, no sheep, no nothing, but they're out there protecting his guys from Philistines, from wolves, from bears, from lions, whatever's in the wilderness. These guys were protected and under their protection. So now uh, they come back a month or two later. Now is the shearing time. Now is the time when it's time to shear the herd, whether it's cutting their fur or slimming down the ones you don't need, eating the males, keeping the females, and distributing some of the meat. So David says, Hey, my guys and I looked after you. Can you spare us a gift of some of your uh, sheep now that it's the time, blah, blah, blah. And he says, What am I going to feed the whole world here? Da, 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 da. And he's an asshole. And so they come back to the message, and David's like, Well, fuck it. I'm going to kill him and take it all. So, and he's got 3,000 sheep, he's got 1,000 goats, he's got all this property and heads of animals. And so the people come back, and the servants tell Abigail, Nabel's wife. And Abigail's like, Oh, son of a bitch, you can't do that. He's such an asshole. He has no understanding of grace and culture around this area. So she immediately prepares 200 loaves of bread and all these sheep and goats and cooked stuff. And she immediately goes down there and she says, Send this all to David immediately and to all his men, and I'll come right afterwards. So she gussies herself up, looks great, and she finally gets to David. And after all this food has arrived, and David's already like strapped up on added his swords, his knives. He's got the AKs. He's ready to go to town and take everything this guy owns. So she gets to David, she bows down, and she says, Hey, um, I'm so sorry. My husband's an asshole. I know how you treated us before, and please forgive him. He's, drunk and this and that. And don't take vengeance on him, because that will look bad on you in front of God. And I think God says, Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, in the book of Isaiah. And so I guess Isaiah isn't quite written yet, but it's still it's got to be out there in the ethernet, you know what I mean, like in the
Right.
cosmic conscience of God fearing people. There's still that awareness that God's vengeance will take it. So Abigail said, don't take vengeance on him, let God handle that. And so David says, You've done a good thing here. You saved me from blood on my hands, and you brought all the food my men need. And I really appreciate you, blah, blah, blah. Go back to your husband and let him know that you have saved his life today. So she goes back to her husband, who's even more drunk and an asshole. So she doesn't tell him that night. She waits until he wakes up in the morning. She tells him in the morning, and he has a stroke and he dies 10 days later. And then the message is brought to David that Nabal has been killed. And so he says, God took vengeance for me. Abigail is great. She was right. She saved me from having blood on my hands. And then he said, send the servants to go tell her I want her to be my wife. And apparently David had a few wives, man.
Yeah.
I like I like that king guy. He's like, he got all the wives he wants. But she was a real classy woman, and she already proved herself. So now when she says, I'm gonna wash the feet of the servants of my master, she had already become the wife of David, already submitted herself to him as his helper, and her master. And now she was washing their feet, and like a servant, and and she's really going to be the wife of the king, but instead she considered herself a humble servant.
Nice. Yeah, it kind of showed me there was a parallel. I was thinking about that when I looked it up, between that and Christ and humbly washing people's feet.
And what does it say?
Let's see, where'd it go here? I moved it. And then it also told me the vengeance is mine is primarily in Romans 12:19, and it's also quoting back to Deuteronomy 32:35.
Oh, okay, so it's in Deuteronomy originally, so it was a concept that David would be aware of then
There it said,
through the scriptures.
you know, said Abigail's act in 1 Samuel 25:41, and Jesus's actions in John 13:1-17 both use feet washing to redefine leadership through radical humility. While separated by centuries, Abigail's gesture serves the Old Testament foreshadowing of the servant leadership model that Jesus perfectly fulfills in the New Testament.
That's how I read it. When all of a sudden I was reading that in Samuel last night to Sammy, I was like, "Oh my God, that's the first. That's an appearance of Christ, not in character. I guess in character and in action, not in physicality. It's not like Christ appeared in Abigail, but it's Abigail acting Christ-like."
That's what I was wondering, how that all fit there too. It said also because since Abigail's status, since he was wealthy and a high status noblewoman, she lowered herself to the status of a slave to bring peace and to protect the household. So
Well, and she is she's the queen. She's the king's wife. And even though I don't know if they have a marriage ceremony yet or whatever, he hasn't slept with her, she still is fulfilling that role with her life. She is the representative of the king, like Christ. He's the representative of the Father, uh, and as the Son. I don't know. And so he comes from this high status. He's the inheritor of the kingdom. She's the inheritor of the kingdom, or of all that's in the kingdom, for the king's I don't want to say servant, but
not sure what word would fit there for that.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not thinking. But anyways, she's a high level person, washing the feet of the servants. And so she's the servant of the master, but they're the servants of the servant of the master. And yet she's humbling herself to wash their feet.
It's wild too. I think we talked about it earlier this week there in Parsha. And I wondered too if it's part of Saul's downfall too, that he wasn't waiting for Samuel to do that sacrifice and ended up doing the sacrifice himself, which I believe they even talked about how that was similar to the one when they did it with in Moses's time when they tried to do that sacrifice and they weren't permitted to, or they were not set up to, so they weren't doing it right, and they caught on fire and died. I think it was Aaron's son, if I remember right.
I don't quite remember that, but what it makes me think of is the
And then it also reminded me of Korah and doing his own way with it too.
all right. For some reason, I had a clear picture of where I was going in the Bible, and the television was distracting me, so I had to shut it off. Tell me what it is that we're talking about.
I was wondering how it was related to it too, because we kind of talked about it where there was the strange fire. Yeah,
Oh,
Aaron's
it,
son
it's
Nadab
it,
and Abihu.
what King Saul did. What do we know specifically what King Saul did to lose his kingship? Was it the sacrifice? Is that when you've done a terrible thing here, you didn't wait on the Lord?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if maybe that was kind of the contribution to the downfall, because it reminded me of Aaron's sons and a little bit of Korah deciding that he was
Right.
going to do his own thing too.
And yeah, who else decides to do his own thing? Abraham does his own thing when he has what's the name of not Isaac, Esau, not Esau. What is the name of the son of Hagar?
Oh yeah, Esau, right?
No, it's Isaac's.
Esau.
It is Esau. You're right. It is Esau. The red. No, because isn't that Jacob's brother is Esau? Jacob's
Yeah,
brother
I
was
was
Esau.
mixed up there.
So Ishmael.
Yep, that's right.
Okay, Ishmael and Isaac. So he doesn't wait on God's promise, so he has Ishmael, and that leads to the Ishmaelites, who are always a thorn in the side of the Israelites.
Ass and the men, which
The what?
say it says they're directly will be an ass in the men, which they definitely seem like they still continue to be.
Well, and the Muslims, their whole thing is they descend from Ishmael, from Abraham, instead of through the line of Isaac.
Right, and they seem to still be kind of bucking other mankind and kind of causing trouble continuously. So I definitely see how it fits, kind of being a donkey there in the men, like he says there.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I wonder how much the ruling people. Oh, and by the way, my phone was at 100% this morning, so I have no chance of dying here.
Nice. There we go.
Yeah, how much the ruling people of the world take advantage of these prophecies to play into people's cultural awareness of the Bible to manipulate it how they want to manipulate things. If that, am I making sense?
Yeah, they definitely do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, right. It seems like they plan and strategize. Hey, how do we implement this mark of the beast if we're the bad guys? Not saying that if we're the bad guys, but we want to have control over the system. Oh, it's got to be in the forehead or the right hand. All right, let's develop it. Oh, every single thing that we make popular, from Jimmy Donaldson, Mr. Beast, to the president's limousine called the Beast. They always try and make something the Beast to be. I don't know. I don't know if they're intentionally doing it devilish or if it's just like, oh, this thing is a monster, like
Right.
the way we would say a monster truck. Anyway, So those are the things that really stood out to me in the book of Samuel reading this week.
I find it interesting too there that two of the prophetesses that the Jews bring up are in that story too, Hannah and Abigail, both.
And one at the beginning and one at the end.
Yeah.
Both names start with an olive.
Do they?
An A, the letter A. You know what the olive is? The original picture from the Paleo Hebrew?
Uh, I can't remember for sure. I know I've seen it though.
So it's the picture of an ox head.
Oh yes, yeah.
Two horns and a skull. And when you get to like the Phoenician era, the Middle Hebrew, it is the letter A turned upside down.
That makes sense.
Because you still have the two horns and the animal's head. And when the Greeks made it there from the Hebrew Aleph Bet, the Greeks made their Alpha Bet. They turned the Aleph upside down into our modern letter A that was adopted through the Etruscans into Roman Latin alphabet that we use today with the AB. The beta from Greek is obviously the English or Latin B because we use the Latin alphabet that the Romans used. And what happened with the triangle, upside down triangle with the two horns, that's the upside down A. When they went into Babylon, instead of flipping it upside down, they crunched it in half and it became almost like an X, a stylized X. That is the Hebrew, modern Hebrew Aleph that came from the time of Babylon.
That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I need to get some water. This dog follows me everywhere I go.
At least you got protection, right?
I do have protection, and he's a very sweet dog. I'm going to give him a little breakfast first.
I've heard too with that paleo, the ox head. That's because they also associated Yahweh kind of with the power of the ox, and that's why they ended up making the golden calf. Too, so they kind of related that to the personality of Yahweh.
Well, and you can see in like even the Indian culture that they revere the cow. And so I don't think that's uncommon for ancient cultures to have some form of animal worship. But all right, I fed the dog. Now I'm gonna go get some water for myself. I think I have a cup by the bed.
That's true. They do have Baal, kind of an ox figure too.
And Marduk is an animal. Yeah, and Moloch. Yeah, Moloch is like a cow, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Right, a bull, something like that. So.
Yeah.
It's definitely a theme, and we have animal worship too in a way where we protect chickens and dogs rights and animals rights more than we do an unborn baby.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's what's crazy.
Yeah,
absolutely insane.
So it is insane, but that's the world we live in. And it's not that much different. We think we've advanced so much from biblical times. Like, we're not riding around on horses and plowing fields. And not that everyone was plowing fields back then, too. You got to remember that this was the time, like the time of Jesus was the time of the Roman Empire. People had a mail system and roads that went around the world. You could get almost anywhere, you could get a letter around the Mediterranean in something like 5 days or a week at the most.
That's wild.
Like, Yeah, like the Romans had, and I think it might have been as short as 3 days, and as long as 5 or 6 days. They had a Roman pony express. So if the emperor wanted to speak to a governor and rip off a letter, I'm sure he did it very thoughtfully and made sure he included everything in there. But he sent it out, and it probably went racing full speed on either roads or a ship across, the Adriatic Sea to the next road that connected it to Asia Minor, and then that letter got wherever it was going quickly.
Pretty
That's
quick.
Yeah, and not until the Pony Express did we have mail as good as the Romans.
So I was looking there. They said it averaged 50 to 80 kilometers or 30 to 50 miles a day, but they could push it up to 160 to 250 kilometers or 100 to 155 miles per day.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty quick and crazy.
If it was it depended what it was. If it was a military message, but what they had was posts every 8 miles, just like we did in the Pony Express. Every 8 to 15 miles or something, you have a post with fresh horses and a stable road that the trail on, whether it's dirt, paved, or whatever, and you just have someone booking. I didn't want to swear, booking butt across the landscape. Bam. And especially in the Roman era, when you had the peace of the Romans and they controlled the roads in all those areas. Like in America, the Pony Express boys didn't always survive, and they only hired orphans, and they mostly hired orphans. Yeah. People with no parents and people with no kids.
I guess nobody messes them that way, so they can do that.
Well, and they offered them a lot of money. I think they got paid a lot of money for that time, like $7 a week or something in silver. So if you think about that, what's $70 for a piece of silver right now? 400. So that's like times 7, $490 a week. So $2,000 a month for 15 to 17-year-old kid to ride to ride. Yeah, and it's legal. You got to carry a gun. You got to ride a horse. You got to see the country. You got to risk your life. So,
Wow, that's interesting.
mm-hmm.
And it does say they have the relay system, but I don't know how you would push the relay system for urgent imperial or military ones like you said there. I don't know how you get the relay across further though.
Here's
Each one.
here's how you do it faster. Okay, you're normal. Let's say I'm a rich businessman. All right, I'm paying for this to go on the shipment from one post to another. It goes in a bag. It has a destination, and I'm waiting until that bag of that destination is full. Maybe it takes a week, 2 weeks. Maybe it takes a month, 2 months, and I get that communication there. Now, if I'm a military message, it goes to the same stations. But now, oh, this is a message from Caesar himself. Oh, this is a message from Senator so and so to a governor. And then a military horse goes out, doesn't matter the time of day, 24 hours a day, it keeps rolling. Where if it's like, I'm waiting for 50 letters to come to make, because everyone's got to get paid somewhere here. You put this on your truck and this goes to here. And I think in those kind of societies, there is a much greater level of trust. There has to be. When I did the John Muir Trail, 250 miles in a row, I told you about this, haven't I?
I'm not sure. I don't recognize it.
All right. I was telling my cousin the other day how, I spent this, 30 days doing the John Muir Trail. And we would know who was coming up and they would know us. And sometimes we would be really looking forward to meeting someone, for a couple days. And we'd see him, we'd be like, Jim, Laura. And they'd be like, Dan, Craig, how are you? We're like, oh, so nice to see you. And, we heard like nice things about you. Oh, we heard about you from like 5 different people. They're like, yeah, we heard about you guys. And so we'd stop, we'd talk to them, we'd eat some food with them. If it was almost night when we ran into them, we would camp near them and then chat some more, share some tea and some stories, and then keep moving. But the point I'm trying to make is that you would have information on a trail with no phones, no electricity, no running water, and yet you knew who's coming on the trail and what's going on. You're almost dependent on people for information and truthful stuff, and there becomes a reliability factor where we're just letting people know what's up ahead, what obstacles they're going to face, because some of us are hiking north and some of us are hiking south on the trail.
That's the one that goes from Yosemite National Park to Mount Whitney?
To Mount Whitney, correct.
I pulled it up to look, so I threw it up.
Right. And I guess the trail is only like 230 miles, but we went past Mount Whitney because we had a car parked at a place that we were going to pick up.
How long did it take you guys? It says 12 days usually.
We did 30 days. We did 9 days or 7 days of pre-hiking. We took a couple days off, like in the trail. We stopped at a couple lakes along the way or crossed some creeks, and we just had a day off. And so we did it in like 21 days of actual hiking. And our total mileage was 241 miles. What does it say there is the total mileage from Yosemite to
221?
220. So we went an extra 20 miles.
Nice.
Yeah.
That looked a cool trip.
It was a great trip, and it was funny. And I think we might have planned for 22 days. And on the last day, we hiked 41 miles because we were in such great shape and we just wanted to get the flock out of there. Speaking of flock cameras. and we're like, let's just do it. So we did the 21 miles, and like we had woken up at 4 a.m, 5, we're ready on the road by 5. And the next thing we know, it's like early in the day. We're like, we can do another 17 miles. We're like, yeah, heck yeah, let's get out of here. So we got to the parking lot. We hiked down, and the day we hiked out of the mountains was the day that Saddam Hussein attacked Kuwait. So that way I know the exact date. And I remember being up there in July, and we came out in August of whatever that year was, probably 1990. August of 1990. What can you got the thing at your fingertips? What year did Saddam attack, or what day did Saddam attack Kuwait?
Kuwait. Let's say is that August 1990? August 2nd?
It was August 2nd. Okay. So we went from like July 2nd to August 2nd is when we came out of the mountains.
Well, nice.
I was pretty sure I was up there for July 4th. So in July 4th, we were in Yosemite, hiking around Yosemite, getting in shape for the journey. Yep.
And still quite a crazy mess over there, too.
What's that?
Said it's still a crazy mess over there, but I guess that's been almost forever since they started fighting. So
it's been a crazy mess over there. Yeah, well, it had been a mess before that in the 80s. There was the Beirut thing. What year are you born?
82.
80. So you were only 8 years old when that happened.
Yeah.
Do you remember it at all?
Not much of it. I remember I saw some of the stuff on TV and stuff like that. Because I know it was about the time I was playing Nintendo and all that stuff came up, and all those things were going on, and trying to figure out what was going on in Saddam and all that craziness.
Right. So here's what was going on that I know of as a college student at the time. The Kuwaitis were, you know what slant drilling is?
I think I've heard of it, but I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you what it was.
Okay, so instead of drilling straight down below the oil rig where you're going to pump the oil out, slant drilling, you can drill like for miles going sideways, slowly down sideways with your straw and tapping into an oil field that is 10 or 15 miles away, maybe under a mountain to another little pool, but you're zipping it sideways. And I don't know the distances. I'm just making this shit up. But it's like sticking a straw into someone else's milkshake and
Yeah.
it's coming in sideways so you can steal the whipped cream off the top of their stuff. So apparently Kuwait has done this huge thing to steal Iraqi oil where they don't go across the Iraqi border, but they slant drill under the border and they suck up all of the minerals that are close to their border but on the Iraqi side. And they're like, what do I know? My straw go a little crooked, but it's just oil on the ground, you know? It's oil. It's not your oil, it's oil. And so Kuwaitis getting rich off their oil that they're going straight down for and off all this slant drilling. So meanwhile, the U.S. is good buddies with Iraq. Why are we good buddies with Iraq? Because they're the only thing holding Iran back on that side of things. And so Israel wants Iran tampered down. Iran is famous as the Persian Empire. They still consider themselves Persians. Jimmy Carter has now taken this country in the late 70s. And because he's a Christian guy, thinks all religious people are alike, he fills it up with these crazy ayatollahs. They take this country, a modern day country that's very friendly to the West, and they turn it into some kind of Islamic republic. I think that's actually what it's called, the Islamic Republic of Iran. And I don't IRG. I don't know. I heard different things. I don't know what it's actually called. So, but they're like an ancient culture. They're like the Romans. They've been around forever. They've got aqueducts and ruins that go back 3,000 freaking years, 4,000 years of civilization. They're as old as time, and they have a certain amount of like, we will fight. So Iraq is a good backstop to the Persians coming down and swooping into where all the Sunnis are, because I guess they're the Shiites and the other Muslim, I don't want to call them empires, kingdoms, fiefdoms, what was in the Sykes-Picot, they divided up the Middle East. I think a French and an English ambassador divide up the Middle East into these different countries, and they turn out to be useful for themselves to make a lot of money and for the American British alliance to get a lot of oil. So they don't necessarily want them united under one religious banner. They don't want them united under one country. It's easier to make deals with different people because you can play them against each other rather than if they're united.
Right. Yeah.
It's what the Romans called the Great Game. And all empires have followed it since. Unite your people and divide all your neighbors. Well, and divide your people within your country too, so you can control them better. But
I can say they're still doing that now as much as they can.
no, we're still living in the same system. We're living in the no. I feel like we're an extension of the Roman Empire.
Seems like, yeah.
Yeah, because we still use the Roman alphabet, the Roman week, the Roman months, a lot Roman holidays, kind of.
Still throwing up Roman architecture.
Hmm.
It's just crazy.
So, especially for our political structure buildings, I guess more and more it's become this modern boxy stuff. But anyways, I forget where we were going. Oh, so Iraq against Iran. So Saddam Hussein says to America, we're his buddy. We're getting lots of weapons from him, but we're also secretly giving weapons to the Iranians uh, for cocaine that they can use for drugs into the inner city. That was the whole Iran Contra affair, which was to shovel crack cocaine into black communities and finance uh, weapons for the Contras so they could fight communism. And I forget how the Iranians came into it, but somehow we had to do some business with the Iranians. The Iranians needed tow missiles. So we would give it through Israel, would supply the Iranians, who are their enemies, with missiles so that we didn't have to get our fingers dirty. I really don't remember how it all worked. I was a kid. But all I remember was Oliver North going on TV and saying, God bless America. We got to do this stuff because the enemies are out there trying to kill us every day. And it seemed believable and it seemed like a movie. And we're like, all right, gung ho, go America.
Right.
So, um, anyway, so Saddam Hussein says to April Gillespie, who was the Secretary of State at the time, he's like, listen, I got a dispute. I want to go in and get Kuwait. And she says, listen, we have no issues with any of your border disputes. You go do whatever you need to do. And I think had Saddam Hussein only got into Kuwait and taken some oil fields, he would have been just fine if he had just gone in and secured the oil fields. But instead, he goes in and takes over the whole country. He goes, originally, this has been a port of my country for years and years and years. We don't need another king here. He's a dictator. He's friends with the US. So he thinks if I swoop in and make a greater Iraq by taking over Kuwait, which he had to ship all of his oil that he pumps out anyways, had to go through Kuwait. So he was already not happy with them to begin with. And now they're stealing his oil. He's doubly unhappy. And now America, who's financing his ass to fight against Iran, and he spent millions of dollars and lives, thousands of lives fighting the Iranians. He's like, hey, these guys love me. They're going to let me take Kuwait. So they go in there and take Kuwait, and the Kuwaitis run a smear campaign. He's killing babies in incubators, none of it was true, but everyone was like, "Oh, the poor Kuwaitis. We need to save this monarchy against this dictatorship." Because we stand with monarchy. And everyone was freaking out, like, what the hell? We don't support either one of these guys. Let's stay the F out of it. But it was a chance for us to subsidize all of our defense contractors by using all their weapons and seeing what we had that worked and what didn't work. And so we had the 100-hour war where we fried and incinerated every bit of the Iraqi army that we had sold them all the weapons for years and years
Yeah.
in like 100 hours. We just tested all of our shit,
Wow.
and we routed them. And Bush seemed like a hero. And everyone was like, okay, good. Let gas prices come down and we'll be better off. Everyone's going to be happy now. Gung ho, go America, Durka, Durka, Durka. And Bush came back and started two more wars before the next election. And people were like, fuck this Nazi asshole. All he wants to do is have wars, make money, enrich his family. And people were like, he's a Nazi. And he actually comes from a family of Nazis. And so they voted for Bill Clinton. And he was a puppet and a womanizer and whatever else. But the economy did good under Bill Clinton, so people were happy.
I heard some of the stuff with Saddam too. We wanted him to do some of that, and we gave him the weapons. And then he also started attacking Christians in the area that we didn't sanctify, but we didn't like say, "Hey, that's a good idea." And then he was like, "Yeah, I don't like those Christians. I'm going to get rid of them too." in the area, but I forget which group that was.
Well, this is where the conspiracy part comes in, because people have been saying that the Israelis have been financing wars against Christians in the Middle East, against Christians and Jews, driving Christians out of these Muslim countries, especially if they fall under what God promised Abraham as the promised land, because they have a plan to create a greater Israel. And then, man, I'm stoned this morning. I feel like that I keep forgetting what the point I was trying to make is. Is that Christians and Jews both have been driven out of Middle Eastern countries, even in places where they were once in the majority, like in Lebanon, was known as a Christian country. And most of the early refugees that came to America from Lebanon were Christians. And so it's interesting to see the combination of Israeli and American interests, where they intersect, where they don't intersect. We get to sell weapons and pump up the value of a few of our country stocks and keep people employed here making weapons. We update our weapons so that we have the best weapons in the world, and we are securing the oil for global trade, keeping it out of the hands of the Chinese and the Russians in that area, and the British and the American economy, and the Australian and New Zealand and Ireland. The Five Eyes. Those countries need to control the oil, to keep building their militaries, to secure the seas for global free trade, for our common wealth and common areas. It's just different when you look at it from a global empire point of view, as compared to when you look at it from a single country or an individual community or town point of view.
Right. We're at 58 minutes. Do we want to wrap it up?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to wrap it up. I had a great talk with you, and I never had to worry about my battery running low.
That's excellent. I'm glad here. Do you want to give us a prayer today?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Sounds good.
Dear Lord, please bless any soul that has listened to our whole video and has made it to this point. We thank you for being such an awesome God and humble ourselves before you, because we know as imperfect beings, we make mistakes, but know that all is being done to forward your will, Lord. May your will be done. May your kingdom come. Amen.
Amen. That's excellent. Thanks. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Hopefully that was okay.
I think it was
All
good
right.
there.